We're going to talk about Drive. Drive is a movie that I've seen about 5 times, maybe 6. I love it. It's in my top 10 movies. It's been out for 10 years now, but it's amazing. And I haven't made a review video about it before just because I wanted to make the video fresh after watching it. And I just watched it last night, so here we are. As with all my reviews, if there's going to be spoilers, I'm going to let you know that there's spoilers. But first I want to tell you why you should watch it, because some people might want to hear, why should I watch this movie? Tell me, please. And then stop it at the spoilers. Okay, it's going to be hard to describe. You should watch Drive if you are into 2 things. Beautiful cinema, just stop right there, just like beautiful cinema, maybe 3 things. Beautiful cinema where everything is well thought out and wonderful. The cinematography, lighting, fashion, music. It's a high-styled film. It's amazing. It is great. You can enjoy it if you're into, I would say, action movies. I think you will still enjoy it. But the most important thing, the third thing, if you like high-concept movies, the thing is that this movie is high concept, but it doesn't come off as arty or indie or weird or it's very subversive. It's very subtle. If you're just watching it and you're not catching the concept and you never do, you're not going to leave confused. It still tells a story. We have a very clear story here. It's not some weird thing where I don't know what went on. I don't know what's happening. No, we know what happened. It's very clear. And it's done in a massive style, immensely styled way that it's filmed and edited. But there's this crazy big concept that is here that is so wonderful that it asks the viewer to question a lot of things. And there's no definite answer necessarily with a lot of these things, but this thing is there, and it doesn't beat you over the head with it. I can't get into specifics right now. That's for the spoiler part of the video. But I want to entice you to see this movie. It is not just like some weird art film and it's whatever, I didn't get it. No, if you're not into high concept stuff, if you just want something that's man, that was a really entertaining, good movie, I still think this is for you. It is not a straightforward, just entertaining, action-packed, crazy stuff's happening. That's not what it is. Part of what's entertaining and what keeps me on the edge of my seat is the tension. And there's a lot of tension because there's high contrast. There are really violent, aggressive bits in this movie. There's some fast-paced action stuff too. And there's also a lot of stillness, a lot of calm, and a lot of quiet, which makes those extreme instances of violence or action even more extreme. There's only maybe 5 to 7 acts of violence that I can think of. And I say only, just because if you think of I'm watching this war movie and it's all crazy, it's going to be acts of violence, it would be 80% of the movie, right? This isn't like that. There's very specific instances when there's something that violent happens. And it can be gory. It can show you a lot, but that's not what the movie's about. It's not meant to be some weird slasher flick or just full of people dying and whatever. That's not what it's about. It's got this other concept going on. There's a story that's being told, and there's high contrast, and there's tension, and even in those peaceful moments, there's something that's man, everything is so calm right now, is something going to happen? What's going to happen next? It's incredibly entertaining, and there's levels to it conceptually, or to how there's different ways you can enjoy the film. We've got some amazing actors, actresses, etc. in the film. Ryan Gosling redeems himself. That's how I thought about it at first. That's the only thing the only person I want to talk about right now, because he went from doing The Notebook and then he did this, and I was like, Ryan Gosling's cool again. Thank you very much. And it's wonderful. It's just it's an insanely good movie. It is based off a book which I have heard is very different. It's a small book by the same name, Drive. It is something that I own, but I haven't read yet. So I might do a review on that if I find it to be worth my while. I don't know what else to say to get you to watch this thing. It's freaking amazing. It's so good. It's so perfect. Everything is just so well done and with intention and purpose. This movie is art to me. Nothing's haphazard. I mean, you would say that about any movie, really. Like, oh, of course, the directors thought about everything and they did this and this and that. But I mean, the music is impeccable. It's challenging. It is its own character. It gives you something. The music really sets a tone so much, and it's dynamic. It's not just like one tone or one mood or even two. There's things that are happening where it complements everything else so much. Everything complements each other to an incredible degree. It's just perfect. That's all I can say right now about why you should watch this. If you don't care about spoilers, keep watching. Spoiler alert is in here right now, though. I think that this will entice you more if you don't care about spoilers, which I do. But I mean, it's amazing. So I need to talk about what happens real quick. Again, spoiler alert is here. I'm going to kind of run through what happens and then go backwards or start at the beginning again. So we've got Driver, played by Ryan Gosling. We don't know his name. He's a mysterious character. We don't really know anything about his past for the most part. So he has two jobs. He works with one dude named Shannon. That's his boss. He's an auto mechanic, and then also he drives for the movies. He does stunts in cars for Hollywood. So, and that is arranged through his boss Shannon. So it's his boss all the time in these two different jobs. He also, as we know from the very beginning, does heists. He's a driver for other operations. And Shannon also sometimes hooks him up with these deviants and miscreants, these characters. We know this because he's confronted one time in a coffee shop, and the dude's like, "Oh yeah, like Shannon, like he like brought us together. Remember when what happened?" And so we know that Shannon's involved in that as well. We assume that he does the latter portion because he just needs the money. We don't really know. We don't see him as like destitute. We don't see him in debt. We don't know why he does it because he's very clear about, I don't carry a gun, I don't do this, I don't do that, I drive. That's what I do. Again, I think even in the credits he's just listed as driver. Sometimes Shannon calls him the kid, but we don't have a name for him. So, or something like that's a thing. Like there's other times where he's just mentioned as like the friend. Let mommy talk to her friend, right? So we know he has these three jobs. He lives in an apartment. He's got a neighbor 2 doors down, I guess. He notices her at the supermarket one day. She's got a son. Her car breaks down. They begin a little relationship, a little romance. He finds out she's married. Her husband is in jail. Driver and Irene get connected. They have, and I mean him with Benicio, her son as well. They definitely enjoy each other's company. They have a relationship. They're gelling. Things are working out. Happy times. Husband comes back home. Driver's like, okay, I guess I can't do anything about that. Him and Irene are both kind of sad about it, but she, I think, is staying faithful to her husband. We don't know of any, like, physical, I mean, they hold hands once, you know what I mean? And that's kind of it that we see. Anyway, husband comes home. He's a little skeptical of the new friend. But one day, driver comes home and finds Standard beaten up in the parking lot, in the parkade, I should say. And Benicio, his son's there. He's freaked out because dad just got beat up really bad. He's super bloody, whatever. Driver asks him what the hell happened. He says, when I was in jail, I paid for some protection. It was $2,000. Then I got out, and it was $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. They keep upping the price. I owe them money. They want me to do a job for them to rob this pawn shop. I don't want to do it. I want to be a clean man from now on. I don't want to do this thing. And driver says basically that he'll help him out, and he'll drive for him, and let's just get it behind you, and then you can start fresh again. Just get them their money, whatever. So, in the midst of this, Shannon, we see some of his background, and he got in some trouble with one of the guys in the mob. Played or Nino is his name in the movie. And now we've got Bernie, his partner. Now Shannon's trying to have a new deal with Bernie. They're going to do stock car racing. He's got the driver. He's amazing. He can do anything, but he needs money. He needs the financial backing to purchase the car. They're incredibly expensive. So that deal happens. Bernie's excited. Shannon's excited. They're going to make money. Whatever. That's going on. That's how Driver meets Bernie. That's how he gets involved in this whole thing with Bernie and Nino and Shannon. That triangle that's happening there. But unfortunately, bad luck. Luck is a thing that happens here. It's kind of a little bit of a character in the movie, just a little one. But what happens is that Driver decides to go and help out Standard. They go to the pawn shop. Things go messed up. We don't know what the hell happened. The money comes back. There was only supposed to be, I think, $40,000. But Blanche, I don't know what her title is. She's a helper, an assistant of these types of crimes. She comes in with the money. They're both waiting there for Standard to come out. He gets shot in the neck. What the hell? And then there's another vehicle that's there, and that vehicle is there to rob them. Driver doesn't know this at the time. There's a crazy chase scene. He gets away. Him and Blanche are in a little hotel. There's millions of dollars in here, or there's $1 million in there, I should say, in the bag. There's only supposed to be $40,000. What's going on? We got held up by this other car. Obviously, there was a plan here. He's asking her what she knows. We've got another hugely violent scene where he has to kill some folks to escape. He gets out. He still has the money, and then he's all wrapped up in this thing where there's this plot. Nino staged this robbery from another mob boss, whatever. It's not that important, but we have Driver with this money, and Nino doesn't want any evidence that he did this thing to this other mob boss, so he says that Shannon's gotta go, and so does Driver. And, Bernie's like, man, I was just in this business venture, I was wanting to start this stock car racing thing, and now, whatever. But he's like, okay, whatever, you're right, I guess they gotta go. We can't have anyone tying us back to this thing. And he didn't even know this thing happened. Anyway. There's people that are after Driver. They're after him. They're not letting up. They come to his apartment. He obviously feels threatened. He defends himself. Acts of violence ensue. And then he decides he needs to be proactive. He's got this money, he wants out, and Nino didn't really let him out. He could have just taken the money and that was it. But Driver goes and finds Shannon dead in the car garage, because, Bernie had to go do that. And then Driver decides, you know what, I'm going to go after Nino myself. I'm just going to go and try to end this. He didn't want the money, I'll kill him. So he goes to do that. And after he does that, he calls Bernie. He says, this is a key turning point in the movie, which I'm going to get to as soon as I finish this quick synopsis. And he says, the story about the scorpion and the frog? And he says, yeah. He says, well, your friend Nino didn't make it across the river. I didn't know what the hell that meant the first time I watched it, but it is the most significant thing in the movie. Everything unfolds after that point. And, man... So Bernie says, I think that we've had enough. You, me, and your girlfriend are the only players left in the game, and I'm sure you want her to be safe. Meet me at this place, bring the money, we'll take care of it. And so he decides to do that. But before then, well, I missed a step in there, but he does ask in this very incredibly vulnerable moment, which is again showing that huge contrast and tension of who he is. He tells Irene what happened. He said, I was involved, I tried to help Standard out, and this is what happened. And then she slaps him, and he says, I still have the money, like, you could have it if you want, and, maybe I can come with you. And it's just like this heartbreaking moment where he's so vulnerable. And anyway, he ends up going to the restaurant, Great Wall, to meet Bernie. They talk. They go back to the car. Bernie stabs him. Driver stabs Bernie. He leaves the money in the parking lot with the dead body. Eventually, he drives away. For a minute, we think he's dead, but he gets out of there. Okay, that's the movie. That's what happens. But what is this about? What is this really about? It's about nature and nurture. It's about questioning your nature. How much can you change from your nature? Why do we know this? It is because of that tale of the scorpion and the frog. I did not know that fable at first. I had to look it up after because everything in the movie seems so perfectly well done. There's no way that this could have been a fluke. Like, this is part of it. Like, it had to be part of it. I knew that, but I didn't know to what extent. And so then I found out. If you don't know the story of the scorpion and the frog, I'm going to tell you real quick. There is a scorpion, and he is trucking along, and he gets to this river, and he's like, I can't swim. What am I going to do? There's a frog. I'm going to ask the frog if he can help me out. Talks to the frog and says, hey, I want to get across the river. Can I just climb on your back and you can just swim me across the river? Because that'd be tight. Frog says, absolutely not. You're going to sting me. I'm going to die. And the scorpion says, but why would I do that? If I stung you, then I can't get across the river. I'll drown. Like, if I'm on your back and I sting you, I'm going to drown because you're going to die and I can't swim. Frog says, that makes sense. You're right. They get about halfway across the river. Scorpion stings the frog. Frog says, yo, why would you do that? And the scorpion says, because I'm a scorpion. So we're left with, how much can you change? What's in your nature? What's not? We apply this to Driver. He's wearing a jacket this whole time. Not the whole time. But he has one jacket. That's not true. He's got a denim jacket too. But he wears this other jacket on top of that sometimes. His jacket has a scorpion patch on the back. When is he wearing the jacket? When is he not? Is that important? Probably. In this story, he's the scorpion. He's the one we're questioning. Why would you do that? Because I'm a scorpion. I can't change my nature. What is his nature? And I think that's what we're left with questioning, and there's no definitive answers. What is his nature? Is his nature to do violent things, or is his nature to be protected? Is his nature to do violent things to protect himself and the ones he loves? Is his nature to just be a lover, not a fighter, but he's a fighter when he has to be? What is his nature? What is it? Or is he just a bad dude who likes doing bad stuff, but he's kind of a romantic? Or is that him trying to change his nature? We don't know. We don't know. I'm going to go back a second to luck. It's another thing that Bernie says to Shannon a lot. He says it to Driver, too. He says, Shannon's always had bad luck. I want this thing to work out, this new stock car racing adventure, because, Shannon just hasn't had a lot of luck in his life. Shannon has a horseshoe tattoo on his neck, which I didn't notice, I don't think, until this time. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That's funny. Like, because he's got bad luck and he ends up dead. And, yeah, I guess luck is a thing here, too. Because it also gets applied to Driver. It's like, man, you could have done... what were the chances that heist and all that thing connected back to these two guys? It could have just gone smoothly. It could have been connected to someone else. It could have... But what a coincidence. What bad luck. Anyway. Like I said, everything here is done really purposely. And one of the things I love, going back to the nature of this thing, is probably one of my favorite scenes. It's just him, Driver, sitting in Irene's apartment with Benicio. They're watching TV. And Driver, I think they're watching a cartoon, is what it seems like. Driver says, how do you know which one's the bad, is he the bad guy? And then Benicio says, well, yeah, of course he's the bad guy. And then Driver's like, well, how do you know? And he's like, well, he's the shark. And then he's like, there's no good sharks? No, there's no good sharks. Apparently. And that's just so directly applied to him. And just again, like, are all sharks bad? Like, why? Like, why does that, like, he was born a shark, he didn't have a choice. He's bad, he can't change, he can't be a good shark. And I mean, that's Driver, you know what I mean? Like, there's some stuff that's in his nature that can he change it or not? And why is he, like, is he automatically bad just because he has, is he a bad person because he has this certain instinct or this nature that he can't get rid of? I don't know. There's another thing here that I really love. And again, there's a lot of subversive stuff that I'm probably not catching either. And I mentioned how the music is just so beautiful and is dynamic, and it's kind of all over the place, and sometimes it's like a huge contrast to what's happening. There's this song that just sounds like this opera, and I need to read the lyrics to you because it's important. And I mean, it happens in a very dramatic time as well. But here we go. All right. It is called "Oh My Love," and oh my love, look and see the sun rising from the river. Nature's miracle once more will light the world. But this light is not for those men, still lost in an old black shadow. Won't you help me to believe that they will see a day, a brighter day, when all the shadows will fade away? That day I'll cry, that I'll believe, that I believe. Oh my love, high above us, the sun now embraces nature, and from nature we should learn that all can start again, as the stars must fade away to give a bright new day. So we've got nature coming up here again. We've got this notion of redemption. And there's another song that I don't remember the name of right now. A Real Hero, maybe? And it comes into play twice. One is when Driver is with Benicio and Irene, and they're in his car, and they're in the LA River, and they're having a great time. And part of the lines are, you're a real hero, a real human being. And then that's how we end the movie as well, on that song, when he does drive away. But we know that he can't go back to Irene. Like, he left the money there, he left the body there, and, you know, Bernie already told him, like, you're going to be on the run for the rest of your life. I can promise the girl safety, no one knows about her anyway. I can't promise the same for you. People know you're involved. And I don't think he'd want to take that chance, you know? I don't think he's going back to her. I just don't think it's going to happen. He, you know, sacrifices so much to just be the good guy as much as he can, to try and help, even just doing that favor for Standard, being like, hey, I just want them to be happy, even if I'm not in the picture. I'm just going to do this, like, they're going to be a happy family again, and I'm not in the picture. And that self-sacrifice is just a massive thing, right? Obviously the ending is a little bit open. We could speculate, does he try to go back, and do they fall in love, and they move somewhere, and they're all safe and happily ever after, whatever. But I don't think we're supposed to get that idea. It's open enough that we could if we felt like that. But I think a stronger notion here is the fact that he can't go back. And he's done all this. And he isn't going to get what he wants. Other than her being safe. Benicio and her being safe. I guess he could say, I need to leave so that they're safe. And maybe that's what he wants more. Was that in his nature to begin with? Or is that who he always was? Or is that the change? Was he selfish before? We don't know. There's so much we don't know about him, which makes the question bigger because we don't get answers. His past can't even come into play and tell us, like an indicator of, no, he's changed. We don't know anything about his past. We know that he rolled into Shannon's shop one day and said, hey, can I have a job? That's the extent of his past that we know. That's it. I need to highlight another scene here, the elevator scene. It's this beautiful moment where this is after he's already been vulnerable with Irene, and said, this is what happened. I try to help out, and Standard is dead because I try to help out, and this thing happened to him, and I have the money. Do you want it? She slaps him in the face. He says, maybe I can just come with you. There's nothing else said at that. She doesn't say yes or no. They're waiting on an elevator, and it turns out it's one of Nino's henchmen in there. Oh, I got the wrong floor. He's got a gun in his jacket. Driver sees this. They're in the elevator, all three together. They're going down. He takes Irene into the corner. You think he's just protecting her. The way that he moves his hand and reaches around and pushes her into the corner, he turns around. The first time we see them kiss, the first time we know of them kissing at all, and it's this beautiful moment. And I talked about contrast, the lighting, the cinematography, everything, the colors. In that moment, it's this dreamlike state, which most of the time he's with Irene and Benicio and things are happy and yay, things are beautiful. There's the editing and the filters and everything they're using and just how they're color grading it is just this beautiful, bright, light, yet subdued kind of, I don't want to say muted. It's not crazy saturated, but it's bright and hopeful and, like I said, dreamlike. It's there's almost a little haze. And other moments of violence, I don't think they're oversaturated, but they are generally higher contrast, a lot darker, and it seems much more gritty and realistic. And in the elevator, we have both of those things happen. We've got him moving her to the corner, kissing her, and then him turning around and the henchman going for him right away. Driver gets the upper hand, and he ends up crushing this dude's skull with his feet, just stomping his head in, I don't know how many times. And it is so incredibly powerful and violent and gruesome, and he doesn't, that's the thing, he it's overkill. It's, 3 stomps and it might have been, that should have been it. And she's in the elevator, and he keeps going and going. We hear bones snapping, blood on his face. And she gets out of the elevator because she's like, who is this person? What just happened? And he just stands there, panting, just gasping for breath after this crazy event. And he just looks at her, and he's just wild-eyed. And she's in shock and doesn't know what's happening, and the elevator closes. And I believe that's the last time they see each other. And I think that puts an end on their relationship. It's another signifier that he does not go back. But those two worlds happened there. We saw in that elevator, in that very confined space, that this is a complex character, and both of these things reside in him simultaneously. And we try to put our values and morals and everything else onto that and be like, well, what would you do? If you're, you know what I mean? He protected her, but he went way too far, and she did not know what was going on, and there was no explanation. He didn't even try to go and get her. He was just I think he just realized that's it, The last thing I'm going to say to wrap up is just that, again, we have so much tension here because there's a lot of lack of dialogue, and that's just done so wonderfully well. There's a lot of long stares, there's a lot of silence, there's a lot of no eye contact sometimes, and it just draws you in more. Again, that's contrasted with incredible violence sometimes, but it's just something beautiful that I haven't seen done well in movies before, where you might have a silence to create tension, once or twice or something, right? Like that's an obvious technique to have this contrast. But this is just like the whole movie. It's just there again and again and again. And again, it just adds to the mystery of him. He doesn't have much to say. He's a quiet guy. And it lets everything else do the talking. It lets this high-styled film do the talking. It lets the music do the talking, the color, the lighting, movement, like the shots do the talking. Everything else can communicate with us. And it's just the biggest mood ever. Like, it's just a mood. I can't think of anything else to say about this movie, but it is one of my favorites for that reason. I love showing people this movie. I love watching it. It is beautiful, and it, again, leaves you with these questions of nature versus nurture. Not necessarily nature versus nurture, I guess, but to me that always comes into play when I think of nature, period. What it really brings us to is, can you change? What is in our nature and what isn't, and how much can we change what is in our nature? And how much can't we?